You are listening to the Empowering Working Moms podcast, Real Talk with Dr. Prianca Naik, a show to help professional moms in survival mode to take hold of their lives and thrive. If you're ready to take powerful action to create your best life, then this is the show for you. I'm your host, Dr. Prianca Naik, board-certified internal medicine physician and certified life coach. Now let's get to it and dive in. Hi, I am so excited to launch this podcast and bring this very first episode to you. I am Dr. Prianca Naik, a board-certified internal medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach. I was trucking along in my life until I had a child, and then boom, my world got turned upside down. My type A personality, along with my tendency to stress out and be anxious, went from being an asset to a liability real quick. When I returned to work after my maternity leave, I knew things had to change and fast. Through my own self-help journey, support group attendance, mindfulness practice, and coaching, I began to emerge from my state of drowning and find happiness and peace truly for the first time in my life. As I went further in my coaching journey, I learned to love myself, chase my dreams, and left full-time medicine to become a life coach. I am bringing my expertise as a full-time working doctor mom to you to help you shift out of survival mode and truly into your best life. Today, I want to talk about the purpose of this podcast. I want to make a positive impact on professional mothers who are silently suffering with a seemingly perfect life and help them thrive. In this podcast, I will address age-old problems like women taking the majority of the home burden, along with more taboo topics like addiction and abuse, with modern solutions and a fresh perspective. My hope with this podcast is that you will walk away with lessons that will help you break free of societal chains and cages to give the finger to generational trauma and emerge to live your best life. So let's dive into today's topic, which is living a life with intention. Many of us go aimlessly through life wondering why certain things are happening to us. But in reality, the power of our experience lies 100% within us. Take that in. We have the power. We are in complete control of our life experience. I repeat, we are in complete control of our life experience. We are women, and we are so damn strong. We are powerful creatures, and clearly we've gotten this far in our lives, right? We have successful careers, we have children, and neither of those are easy to come by. We made all the right choices. Perhaps we went to an Ivy League school, or we were always smart in school, or we've worked our way up the corporate ladder in our careers. We married the right guy on paper or otherwise. And yet, we look at our lives and we're so dissatisfied. Work takes so much out of us that we're in survival mode just trying to get by from one day to the next, when all we have is this one precious, amazing life. We come home from work with maybe more work to do and so little to give to our partners and children. What gives? Many of us are living without really thinking, or we are living according to how we should be based on other people's thoughts about us or based on what we've been taught. How about we take a look at our own lives closely and decide what we want without people-pleasing or shoulding all over ourselves? Shoulding, meaning what we think we should be doing as opposed to what we truly want. Let me put it this way. We plan to go to college. Maybe we plan to go to grad school, medical school, law school, get our MBA. Many of us plan to get married and eventually have babies. And yet, we don't put thought into what we want to get out of life today or tomorrow or several years from now. And of course, with no planning and no thought, how can we possibly be happy? Here's the solution. The concept is actually quite simple. Intention. Grab a pen and sheet of paper and jot some notes down. Or come back to this podcast later if you're driving. Here goes. What do you want your life to look like? Think about your career, your relationships, your hobbies. What brings you joy? Where do you want to be? What do you want to own? How much money do you want to have? What does your ideal day look like today and tomorrow? What about in 1 year? How about 3 years? Even 5 years? This can be different for everyone. There is no right or wrong answer. The idea of doing this might be overwhelming, so I'm going to give you a few options with which to approach this. 1, you can dedicate time, only for 5 minutes, let's say, daily for a few weeks. Number 2, you could make a vision board, either on paper or with an app like Canva. 3, you could write it down and make a list. 4, you could dream about it first thing in the morning, which is a really fun way to wake up, or before you go to bed at night, even better. This will help you to get your brain to focus in on what you want. That is the first step to getting the life you want, to building your dream life. To all the naysayers who insist that life sucks, that we have no control, I respectfully disagree. We have so much intelligence, strength, and power. We can do hard things. I'm going to give you a client example of just that. I had a physician client in an abusive relationship. She was a mom as well of 2 little kids, both under the age of 5. Her spouse, a physician, emotionally and physically abused her. Every day, she was so miserable. She felt that she was just barely getting by. She was so exhausted from work, she would sit there outside of her garage, debating when to go in, dreading entering her home each evening. Can you imagine living like that? She was feeling like she was walking on eggshells and really not knowing what kind of instability or abuse she was in store for that evening. In our first session, I asked her, what was the number one thing she wanted in her life? Her answer, she said she wanted to feel safe, emotionally and physically. That's a basic, right? Well, unfortunately, not for everyone. In a world that often shames people for leaving unhealthy situations or shames the situation itself, it can feel nearly impossible to take action or to do the perceivably right thing. She wanted safety. But what actions did she need to take in order to get there? Moving out, she said. That's a pretty big step, right? Well, the idea of moving out was understandably daunting for her, so she sat with it for a few months. However, as she worked on self-love, she was able to love herself enough to do what was right for her and her children, regardless of how it would affect him or of what others might think about her seemingly perfect life. One fine day, after he physically assaulted her, she left. She moved out. It wasn't easy, but it was simple. She moved through a lot of grief, facing the reality of what was, and also letting go of the fantasy of what could have been. But you know what? She actually found herself in complete and utter peace. She began truly finding joy in every single day. She was no longer just surviving. After a few months of us working together, she began to thrive and build her dream life. She was no longer a victim of her circumstances, but in complete control. She was in complete control of her life experience. She figured out what she wanted and made it happen, as difficult as it was. Difficult, but so simple. In a seemingly dark situation, she found light and happiness. And she's not special. Not special in the sense that any one of us can do the seemingly impossible. Any one of us could choose to do just this. Her major move began with a thought, an intention. I want to be safe. And with time, she made it happen. So even if you feel stuck, I promise you that anything is truly possible. But it has to start with a thought, with an intention. By shifting your focus on what's possible, you can start to actually make it happen. Try one of the options I discussed today and let me know how it goes. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Empowering Working Moms podcast, Real Talk with Dr. Prianca Naik. If you are ready to get unstuck and out of survival mode to live your best life, I want to invite you to book a free 30-minute consultation call with me. To get started, visit priankanaikmdcoaching.as.me. Link in the show notes.